We're in the final stretch, and we're going to talk a little bit about the outlook of our role and profession, and no better than Kate and Hugh to talk about that. But I have a quick question. How many of you were here last year and saw Kate on stage? Because Hugh wasn't, yeah. All right. So Kate talked a little bit about the evolution of our role from marketing to market. So I want to kick off the session with exactly that. So fast forward a year. I did notice, I think many people did change their profile. I didn't, but to Chief Market Officer. So I think that there was like this direction, and I get it. You know, I think the argument was, you know, CFO is not Chief Financing Officer, they're CFO. So intellectually, I can wrap my head around that. But it did feel like more of just a branding than anything. But my question for you is, fast forward to today, what has changed as more people kind of took on this, I'm a Chief Market Officer? Did you see anything in the role itself?
Well, I want to make sure that I was being clear. I wasn't advocating for everyone to just change their title, and that it's a branding. It wasn't a branding thing.
Those are my words. Sorry.
Yeah, it really was a state of mind that I advocate for, and that's not just your state of mind. It's the state of mind of your peers and your boards and your CEOs, of course. Just the idea has not changed. I stand by it. The market itself needs ownership, and the idea of ing just relegates your work to the activity, the random acts of marketing kind of way of thinking that I believe we have got to move away from and standardize your role and your work, particularly in B2B, in the way that your peers are more standard. I'm not, and I wouldn't say that if you change your title tomorrow, it's going to change everything. It absolutely won't. What should change is the way you behave or the way those around you behave, because they are evolving in their way of thinking about the role.
So not outputs, but outcomes.
Yes, ma'am.
That's it. Okay. So Hugh, kind of same question along those lines. Are boards and CEOs, how are they recruiting for now this market leadership as opposed to some of the traditional things we've done? What have you seen, the skill sets around that?
Well, obviously I wasn't here last year, but I did hear about it from the marketing community. So it worked.
It was a very big deal. I think Drew thought it was a bigger deal than I did. But.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that when it comes to when, and again, Kate and I look through the lens of our clients in this regard, at the board and the CEO level, president level, direct reports that a CMO has, there's still the lack of really understanding a lot of this function, candidly. So the marketing is something that they know, and it's an entity that they're comfortable with. I think the biggest shift that I've seen this year, and this might be too granular, but it's movement away from a really aggressive focus on demand generation into all the boards are talking about product marketing. Everyone's talking about messaging and positioning. So how do you recruit for that? And that message has trickled really downhill. So we've seen a big influx of, if we want a CMO, we'd probably rather they came up the PMM route than the growth route of marketing. But that's not to say that they don't want everything. They still want more than they can get. They still have unrealistic expectations of what reality can be in this function. And it's still as hard as ever. So it's a really exciting time.
Yeah, and I would just, I would actually love to quantify what Hugh just said. I scraped the position descriptions, the CMO position descriptions that we put together for our clients in the last 2 years. And I saw product marketing increase by 38% in terms of the superpower that companies are looking for as compared to demand gen. This is not to say that demand gen is like off the hook and you don't need to worry about that. You don't need to be able to speak to it. But I really think it is, it actually tells you something about the state of the market when positioning and messaging, which I believe is, of course we all believe probably, is the foundation, right? All things flow from great product marketing. Demand gen flows from it, everything. And so if we get that right and companies get that should be the superpower, we're going in the right direction.
Yeah, and not to do your data versus our data. We did it at the beginning of the year where we analyzed the last 100 CMO searches that we had done from 2021 until 2025, and 70% of those placements came up through demand generation. But the data this year alone was 60% coming up through product marketing.
Oh, I love it.
So it reinforces it. And it's not to say that people aren't focused on growth and demand generation. They still are. But we're seeing a massive influx of, let's get if we hire a CMO who's PMM centric, then we need a really good SVP, VP of growth or demand.
Oh, agreed.
And
Right.
vice versa, by the way.
Right.
Okay. So in clearing that up, so it's not outputs, it's outcomes. What's up with this CRMO, Chief Revenue Marketing Officer? Have you heard that?
I had
Or
today was
today?
the, but
Who
I
said that anyways?
yeah.
Ah,
Right.
okay.
That's right.
So just we were trying to get clarity on CMO or whatever else. So.
To me, that just sounded a lot like revenue marketing. I don't know what the difference is. I still don't even know what revenue marketing is. When people say, "Oh, I'm a revenue is that demand gen? Like, what is that?" I don't know what was it CRMO?
CRMO. Revenue Marketing
Right.
Officer, yeah.
Growth as well as retention. So both sides. You can't read people, so customer marketing is important. Then how does a CMO transcend both sides? Increase pipeline and demand as well as keep customers.
Oh, so that we don't get folded under the CRO, maybe.
Oh, so the idea is, I want to make sure I'm understanding you. So you're saying that revenue comes from many places, not just net new, but retention and expansion. Of course it does. So again, how is this different?
I don't think that's any different, yeah.
I don't get
Okay.
it.
I've not seen that title
I
either,
think
personally.
that we're like in this thing, and it's not just a year old, and it's not just because of AI, just this idea of labeling. We have to label everything now. It's just the chief marketing officer or the chief market officer, the CMO has a lot of responsibility, and some of it has to do with filling the sales organization with the things it needs today to bring home the bottom line. And sometimes that's a new customer, and sometimes that's an expanding customer. And then there's all the things outside of this week and this quarter that the CMO also has to be responsible for. And all the stuff outside of what I just said is the reason why the CMO should not report to the head of revenue.
Can we get an amen?
I just wanted, Denise Person and Chris were up here earlier today. Outside, I asked him, if any of the 4 CEOs that you worked through at Snowflake ever asked you to have Denise report to you, what would you have done? And he said, no, I don't want that. I'm not interested. He said, if I were in a different company and I didn't have a CMO like Denise, maybe I would have said, maybe if the CEO didn't know anything, and he said, but what we had was so good, why would I ever, and I'm not interested in a land grab. And you really have to ask yourself, like, how much of that reporting structure is due to land grab and just straight out ignorance? Who's ignorant in the room here? Not you. I mean, like, CEOs, CROs. They're just if they're ignorant of how good it can and should be, then they're gonna do unnatural things.
Okay. I like the passion.
Sorry.
And you got an amen from this room. All right, so let's move on to the next question, which is around expansion or exhaustion. So we had a panel earlier where it was the CMO plus role, where they're taking on more or having a greater level of influence at the executive table. We also have some CMOs who are like, I'm going to take number 2 position, I'm out. And we have others that are like, you know what, I'm moving to fractional. And so we've seen like this evolution of CMOs, and I don't know if it's exhaustion, if it's something else, but there does seem to be this now trend of going to number 2 or taking on more, or just like, you know what, I want to go fractional. So what do you think that is causing that as we think future forward of the the role of the CMO, and what should we take away from that?
I think there's a lot of reasons as to why it's happening. There's a lot of fatigue in private equity right now. People talk about private equity, or private equity companies like to talk about themselves in 4 to 5 year ownership periods, and the reality is it's 7 to 10 years. The new IPO window is fairly clearly defined. If you're sub 600 million in revenue, you're not going to be going public. Look at all of them this year with Maven, SailPoint, etc. They're all around 600 plus, or CoreWeave with Gene, that's even over $1 billion. So a lot of people made these moves during COVID where it was, I'm going to be a CMO and I've got that first time title, there's going to be a big exit, and then it's never materialized. And you're fighting for the right to do your job at a lot of these $100 million to $300 million companies. And even in that size and stage, you've got a high likelihood of reporting to a CRO, reporting to a president.
Yep.
And that is tiring. And some people who have done it realize that it's maybe not the promised land. So a lot of my public company clients, and I advise them, I say, you've got a chance to get access to people that have been CMOs because they've missed out on this equity. They could come, they could work with a great leader, they could just stay in their really strong swim lane and make real significant impact and ride an incredible wave. And that's been a little bit part of it from what I have seen.
Yeah, I would totally agree with everything Hugh just said. I think also there's like the post-COVID, COVID itself gave people a lot of reason to just say, I don't know that I need to even work the same way I did before, not because I'm exhausted by the function, but just I'm needed in a lot of different ways as an advisor. Private equity companies, now it's normal for private equity companies to have CMO advisors in multiple, like teams of them, if not armies. And that's a great way to channel all the great things that you know to the next generation, or to a portfolio that isn't necessarily super modern. So there's a lot of options that weren't there, I would argue, before COVID as well. And I just aging. Right? We're all aging to a place where you're just like, well, either I'm going to jump into this moment, the AI moment, or I'm going to advise or sit on boards, and so I just think some of it has to do with the market and the changes, and some of it has to do with ourselves and optionality.
Yeah, and in conversations that I'm sure Kate's had with people in this room, I've had with people in this room, if you've done a journey before, once or maybe even twice, you become attractive to a potential client because you've done the journey that they want to do, but you don't want to do that journey again. Right. You want to leverage what you've done to the next stage of your career, and you should be selfish with that. Some people love doing the $50 to $200 million journey. That's a really, really hard one. Some people just have their playbook that they want to repeat, but most of you don't, and you want to do what's next. And by the way, the bigger company piece, it's interesting. 2-3 years ago, there was an influx of first-time CMOs that went from the big AWS's, Salesforces of the world into like Workday, ServiceNow. AWS even hired a first-time CMO. And I think a lot of people were scratching their heads thinking, but wait, I've been a CMO for ages and I'm not getting that call. So why am I doing this if I'm not going to get that job? I should go into one of these larger companies, do a bigger role, have a broader remit, or larger scale from a revenue perspective, and then leverage that for my next position.
All right. Whew, that's a lot. We've got 4 minutes, and we need to hit on AI, because I know everyone still wants to talk about it. I'm going to stir the pot a little bit. And that is, everyone is clamoring to really learn AI and understand how to embed it in our team. So there's a massive amount of pressure. I would also say that many of us feel like we need to become experts in it. I don't know if there's that expectation or not, but I know that many of us are feeling, is AI going to replace? Is it going to reinvent the role? Are we going to rename the CMO or CRO to go-to-market GTM engineer? So that actually did get brought up in one of my conversations. But what are you hearing related to our roles and expectations around our knowledge of AI and how it might transform our profession?
So what are we hearing from companies about their expectations as far as it relates
Right,
to
'cause
the CMO's expertise in AI.
Yes, because you work with all of these companies that are looking to source really good CMOs. Is this coming up as a big topic and requirement for when you're looking for candidates?
Yeah.
What are CEOs saying?
Ready to get spicy? Nope. The answer is no.
No. We really do not hear it as much as I think this audience would anticipate, and we talked about this before, and I was really nervous to say my answer because I really hoped that Kate had the same answer. And because if she says yes, and I'm like, well, what the hell am I doing wrong? Or like, what are my clients doing?
I'm working with all the wrong clients, right? No.
We should mention, though, I think, look, I can't talk for Kate, but we're around the hundreds to the multiple billion. I mean, I don't do a huge amount of work with sub-$50 million revenue companies. And if you're an AI native business, Anthropic, OpenAI aside, I'm sure they are having those conversations about needing that level of dexterity and detail. But it's, everyone can be an expert in AI because there's no evidence of who's nailed this yet, arguable. But, CROs are having the same conversation, CFOs are having the same conversation. I think it's just there's a lot of noise, and this room and this community probably scares themselves more than they need to. Everyone needs to evolve with what they're doing from an AI perspective, but it's really not been the first topic of conversation that's come up with any of my clients.
Yes.
Are you guys surprised?
Yeah.
Yes. End the meeting on that, please.
No, actually, I went.
And I will go one further. I have worked with OpenAI, and even they aren't asking for it.
And I have worked with Anthropic, and even they aren't asking for it.
So.
Okay.
So I think we should just make sure that we're clear. It's not like, so don't worry, don't do anything.
Yeah.
But I just think that the more important thing that we are seeing our clients ask for is transformation. Can you demonstrate that you have changed something inside the business to the point of we can't ever go back again? To me, that's the definition of transformation. And if you can do that, then you can do AI too. And that's the assumption. The assumption, because no one gets it, not your CFO, not your head of product, nobody's an expert. Don't think that because you're the CMO, you have to be. I will say you have an outstanding opportunity to be the tip of the spear in the company, with everybody following, more so than anyone else, because of the transformation you have all led through in the last 10 years in marketing technology. You are best equipped for this.
Yeah.
And you can show everyone the way, if you want to. And that's why I hate these stupid terms like go-to-market engineer. It's dumb.
Didn't come from me.
And I know, I'm not saying it was. No, I'm saying,
what I hear.
I am hearing about this too, and it really worries me. It worries me that the word engineer is anywhere near the word go-to-market. And we can't just think that it's all tech, we're going to tech go-to-market. That's not, we have to be careful with this stuff. And so all I'm saying is you have this opportunity because you've done this before, not with AI, but you've done it with technology, digitization, consumerization. You have lived through all of that, and your role has transformed more than any other in the last 10 years. Use it to your advantage. Be the one.
Okay, yes or no question. Is brand back?
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah, Brand's back.
Woo!
Yep.
On record, brand is back. All right, thank you so much. Our time, that went by so fast, and I'm sure you're going to be like, everyone's going to flock to you after this for drinks and
We
stuff.
already answered all your questions.
Well, there's always more, I'm sure, everyone. So
Yeah, give it up for
yeah,
Keiko,
you guys are
Hugh Marshall,
awesome.
and
Thank you.
my
Thank you.
co-MC.